Well, g'day again, viewers. As you can see, engine's back out, and yeah, we've got a few issues. This is the main issue. Oil is coming out of the gearbox, and there's two things that tell me this. One is that the engine hasn't used any oil. Well, it's still full after 3,000 k's, so yeah, the amount of oil that's coming out of that, it's not out of the engine. The amount of oil you can see there. I've had a noise too, which I've originally thought was the thrust race, but like this is brand new. Clutch, pressure plate, everything's brand new. And I had tried various adjustments on the clutch and none of it made any difference, Like even when I put my foot on the clutch and push the bearing up till it's meeting the pressure plate, or till it's putting pressure on the pressure plate, the noise doesn't go away. The noise goes away when you fully engage it. So that tells me the noise is must be in this main shaft. I think that's in gear at the moment. And so I'm assuming this noise is also what's causing this leak. Well, I've never had this issue before. I've never even investigated as to whether there's bearing seal or anything in there. But obviously, there's something wrong there. You can actually see, you can see where it's been leaking out. To see, you can see the lines. So, so that's why you've got to pull the gearbox out again. Fortunately, I only have to pull the diff unit out, and so I won't have to pull the entire gearbox to pieces. But anyway, as I said, I don't know what I'm going to find in there or what's supposed to be in there. I might do a bit of research on that. I've actually got a book that it's very early. It's a early 60s book, 6-volt, 1200 cc bugs, but the gearboxes should be the same. So, or at least this part of the gearbox anyway. Because we're not going to need the fuel line anymore. Because I'm putting twins on it, I had the regulator box mounted up here. That's originally in the car under the seat. There's no room for that anymore. The carbs are going to be right in the way of that. So I'm hoping that if I pull the wires back through here and run them up here, I could mount it up here. However, no, I don't think there's really room for that. And I don't want anything in the way. It's hard enough to get to these nuts as it is. So, hopefully when I pull them wires out a bit, I can mount her up here, mount on the fan. Which also involve welding some nuts in there. I'm going to have to do the same thing for the coil. The coil's not going to mount where it used to mount either. So that's going to have to come down here somewhere. Well, I might be able to use one of the mounts maybe. Don't know. I'll get the carby set up before I start fiddling with that. Obviously, going to have to drop or reposition the generator clamp. And set one of them on there. These don't have a choke, but this I would expect is a fuel enricher. For your cold start. So I might try and hook that up. I did have a choke cable set up in there before for the Weber, but I took it out because it wasn't really doing anything. But this other Weber still wouldn't It wouldn't idle with the jack on anyway. Made it start a bit quicker, but that's all it did. So yeah, I just took it out, back out, took the whole mechanism off. But this fuel enricher thing might actually work and might actually be able to idle when it's cold. So it's worth trying, so I'll hook that up. Yeah. The biggest issue, oh no, that's the biggest issue. That leaking oil in the gearbox is the biggest issue, but grab the torch, show you something. Because if you remember, I ported these heads, and the other head's fine, but look at this one, oil in both inlet ports. So obviously I've gone too big here. I'm reporting, taking too much out or something, or I don't know. Can't actually see where it's coming from, but yeah. And yeah. I do have another set of heads, so I'm not going to bother trying to, well, not at this point anyway, trying to get them welded up, probably not ever. I mean, one day I may actually go to some professional ported heads with larger valves and like recast, when I say ported heads, recast heads that are, or remade, new heads with larger ports, performance heads, but yeah, they're pretty expensive, but yeah, that could happen in the future, don't know. In the meantime, I've got another set of heads. This is the ones I was originally going to use, but I found one of them that had a helicoil put in it, which I pulled out. And these ones, we can focus in there. Yeah, a little tiny crack, but they don't go all the way down, so they don't go right through the plug, and they don't seem to go into the inlet port either, so yeah, seems to be, that one's like, yeah, slight crack in it, but it doesn't appear to go that far. It's only just in this top little ridge. So I mean, I haven't taken the valve out and had a look, but I'll do that first. But I reckon I'll get away with using that. Don't think that's going to be an issue. Of course, I'm going to have to port these ones again now, and yeah, be a little more careful. Yeah, so yeah, that's where we're up to. Well, I set that on, like I set that on there for the moment. So I wanted to firstly see where I'm going to put, where I have room for my regulator box. I was originally thinking of putting it here, but that's not going to work. And the other reason I've I lost my train of thought there. Yeah, the other reason I sat on is I've been wondering if it's actually, if I'm going to be able to fit the engine back in with them on there, but yeah, that's a negative. That's not going to happen. So there's no way, like they're going to come to, like, yeah, here somewhere. There's no way I'm going to get it past that outer lip. So yeah, they'll be getting fitted afterwards. I may also, so these have got, your air mixture screws here, which is probably going to be hard to get to once it's in there. I doubt there's going to be room for that, so yeah, I might be drilling a couple of holes through the firewall to under the guard, so that enough of a hole to be able to put a screwdriver through there and turn that. Try and make things a little bit easier. And the other thing, these have got holes, I'm going to have to plug them up. These were probably for the oil breather. And so when you look at the original setup of the oil breather, it goes into the air filter, like before it goes through the oil bath. So if you just run these straight in there, you risk pouring oil in there anyway. It's too much, too much vacuum for a breather to begin with. The other thing is the way these are set up too, with the other breather just going down, there's a possibility of actually sucking air, dirt up, like into your carbies and also into your oil filler. So yeah, I'm just going to put a breather back on that. I had one on there before, but I used another compressor. And you go and buy another one. They're cheap anyway. This little breather. That's the one that was on that oil little filter, I mean. That's the one I had on there. So yeah, we're putting that back where it was. Back on there. And probably clamping it back onto here or something, but anyway. We'll get to that later, that's a minor detail. Yeah. Anyway, had a bit of work to do now. Interesting work, and apart from I really didn't want to have to take the head off again, but you get that. Anyway, thanks for watching, we'll leave it at that, and tune in again, I'll give you a progress report. Okay, bye.